was not meant to happen. This could not happen. This is happening.
Boys and girls, a special edition of The Coach's Son. As we pre-warned you about during the week, we're going to have a special episode every week where we talk interviews with special people, tactics, football, everything that you want from our podcast. We've got the Malak episode, and then we've got the serious football episode, which is it today. And before we introduce our esteemed special guest, I want to say a big congratulations to the person who's won the competition. So we put out a competition where we invited everyone to try and help name this particular segment or episode each week of the podcast. Adam had thousands of messages coming into private messages. So guys, you have to be commenting on the post, not just the messages. Comment on the post. But a big congratulations to Greg Denlow for his suggestion of the coach's son parks the bus.
Good job,
That's
mate.
what we're going to be calling from now on. The coach's son parks the bus. You got yourself a shout out on the pod. You're going to get yourself some podcast memorabilia too. So bravo.
You're going to be
done.
drinking a coffee out of this sensational mug in the morning, Greg.
The best
lucky
coffee.
man.
It tastes very good, eh?
You're lucky man.
Now, to know what we'll be waiting for. History in the making. A special guest for the first time. This guy is the next Ange Postecoglou. That's what they've all been saying. To get this guy on the podcast is ridiculous, to have him on here. The inside scoops. Current A license holder in Australian football, technical director and under-20s coach at Canterbury Bankstown Berries, Andrew Fotakopoulos. Welcome to the Coach's Son podcast.
Welcome.
Thanks, boys. Exciting times. We finally got here.
Bravo.
We're finally here.
Oh,
Good
yeah,
to
love
have
it.
you. Your agent only told us it's going to cost $50,000 to get you on for the hour, so
We tried to get you on 3 months ago. Finally, we get you on.
We know you're obviously a big fan of the pod, but we thought we'll get you on to we know you're a big fan of the podcast. We thought we'd get you on the podcast, pick your brains on what an NPL coach, an A licensed coach looks at, sees things. Obviously, get your take on a few things football wise as well. So thank you so much for joining. I suppose I'll ask the first question to dive straight into it. So I know Adam got a couple of questions about your story, your background, stuff like that. But most importantly, considering the podcast is called The Coach's Son, have you ever coached someone who you thought was the coach's son? Had the coach's son attributes in your team? Without naming names, have you ever had someone, and why were they the coach's son?
What
What a way to start. What a way to start.
There's a big list of the coach's sons, grandsons, cousins, everyone's sons. Oh, yeah. Look, I think we've all come across a coach's son somewhere, playing with them, watching them, hearing about them. So, look, James, boys, you know what it's like. There's one in every club, every
lost
team.
him for a sec. It's coming back. There we go.
Back, yep. There's definitely one in every team, that's for sure. That's for sure.
There is actually too many. There's too many out there to actually pick sometimes and just dial it down. To be honest, I can just imagine the talent that you've seen come through. It wouldn't be easy to pick.
Oh, definitely.
No matter what level you're playing, coaching or whatever, there will always be a coach's son in the team.
Yeah. Always.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely.
That's the hardest
So
part,
as James mentioned, I'll quickly run through the accolades or a little bit of your experience. I'm just going to say this was on LinkedIn, so let's hope it's not wrong. But
We have enough time.
correct me if anything's wrong, or if you went somewhere else and I've read the wrong bloke. To be honest, just let me know. So obviously started football coaching, Gladesville Ride Magic. Then you also did coaching at Cova as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've obviously moved over to Berries as a coach and technical director as well now. Just tell us a little bit about that. I guess, like, obviously your transition. I'm not sure if you're still playing now or not. So tell us about the transition and why you actually, everyone's obviously a fan of football. That's what we love. But why did you actually take the transition to going from player to coach, or what inspired you to do that?
Well, look, obviously going through the ranks, going through playing, youth NPL, trying to, crack it through. Obviously, trying to juggle it with, your studies, your work. Sometimes, your focus sways a little bit. You're not preparing as much, So unfortunately, copped a few injuries. And look, in the end, the injuries took over. So the closest thing to playing at a high level was coaching, and it tied in well with obviously my teaching career. So it's something I enjoy. I'm still part of it. I'm still being there. Obviously, like the coach's son's name, you're seeing all those things you enjoy. These are the things you love: the thrill on game day, the pressure. It's all the fun. It's all the fun that I used to get when I used to play. And it's the closest thing, So it's been good. It's been a nice transition.
Have you ever thought about being player manager and ever just running onto the pitch with some boots on? Surely.
I tell the boys every single time. I will sign first grade to drop down and play 20s.
Back in my day, this is how we did it.
Exactly, back in my day, not that long ago.
Just touching on that as well, actually. Touching on that, the transition into playing and being a coach, did you discover the passion for coaching while you were playing, or was it once you actually copped those injuries, hung up the boots, and then you thought, okay, I'm going to get into coaching here?
I was really lucky because at Gladesville, really good, club there that do like to promote, and obviously James being in a similar boat at the time, they gave a lot of us opportunities to coach and play. Was at that time was good extra money, and I never thought working with the younger kids at that point I'd enjoy it so much, and then obviously being able to end up taking over, it was good. In the end, it was really easy. I think at the time I probably enjoyed it more than what I was doing playing at that time, because facing the injuries, trying to come back from it was just too many hurdles. Mentally, it was straining, and then the coaching part was good. It was twice a week, game on the weekend, easy prep. Younger kids, less pressure. It was really fun. It was easy.
I heard you say it was actually all about the money there, so I'm going to note that down and I'll
It's all about the money. It's all about the money. Coach's sons will tell you it's all about the money.
That's right. I mean, we forked out 50 grand just to get you on here. Well, I was going to say, if you still want to get the boots back on and show your kids that you're coaching and pays that you're coaching, now, there's always big spots at Putney Range. I know you'll probably have to trial because there's some big players in our team, but there's some spots there available.
Said, I don't do trials.
But obviously, while talking about your... I have to do trials. I don't turn up. I just walk straight on the pitch, but I'm not trialing. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, talking about, obviously, that transition into coaching as well, like, you see a lot of kids these days and they play their FIFAs, their ultimate teams, their this and that, and they're so fixated that what they think of systems and chemistry and formations and stuff like that. Coming from you as a coach, do you pick the players to mold around the system that you want to play, or do you mold the system around the players that you've got?
Look, I think, and it's not just a player perspective, I think it's the coach's perspective too. I think people focus too much on the tactics, focus too much on what's happening in the professional world, and they lose sight on why we actually, play the game. We play for fun. The reality is we play for fun. We enjoy it. I think I've tried to shift all that, focus around the player, and then build around the players. Because at the end of the day, in our competitions, we don't have boys who train 5 times a week who you can perfect things. You've got to work on what you've got. People, I know obviously with the 20s, they work, some study, got that balance in between. Some are more serious than others. Some are just there to play competitively. So you've got to mold the system around the player. I think if you go try the system, then the player, I think sometimes you lose sight of it. But look, you can have the best of both worlds, but you've got to have a lot of time, obviously, and you've got to be able to, pick the right player and pick the right person for that. But I think if you go in with that approach, it's going to be, lots of hurdles you're going to face. You're jumping a lot, you're stressing a lot, you're pulling your hair out a lot.
Can I ask? Obviously, when we played, we all sort of similarly did this. We played at a decent level in Australia, and we went through the trials. We all had the rejections. We did, it was good and bad moments. Not to put you on the spot, but I'd love to know what your rejection speech might be to the players that actually don't make your team. you have to. Do you
scripted.
look?
It's scripted.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you look yourself in the mirror at night and then talk? Yeah, you're going to
Every
do
night. Thank you, boys, for coming. I would
Yeah.
love to sign you all. Unfortunately, we can only take 16 boys, and I'd love to see you back next year.
it. Jeez,
Adam said that a few times. Eh?
I was about to say, that just gave me PTSD.
No, all age.
Oh, look, I think now even that whole speech now is becoming a bit obsolete because coaches, teams, clubs, they do pre-trials now, and it's more invite players into your training sessions. You get to see them once or twice. Some people 3, 4, 5, 6, depending what their flavor is. And then if they don't fit the mold, they just say, "Look, sorry, you're not what I'm looking for. See you later." You know. So the numbers of open trials, I think, are reducing a lot, and you're seeing a lot more of these private pre-trial stuff and a lot of stuff on video footage. So the good thing is, because I know you're suffering PTSD, I suffer from PTSD, definitely. But no, look, I think, I think it's a lot easier.
Can I ask, do you, for your trials, do you actually request by invitation, or do you guys hold open trials?
Well, for the
I don't know
youth,
how it's changed nowadays.
Yeah, obviously, because for the youth, well, obviously I oversee the 20s down to the youth. We start with a pre-trial expression of interest. So we'll put the Google form up. Stephen, Adam, James, they'll fill in their form. We'll have a look at it. If it's what we think it might be worth looking at, we'll invite them in. We'll do the trial. And then if we like them, we'll sign them. If it's something that we want to wait for open trial, then we'll do that. And then generally the pre-trials start a couple weeks before the season ends. You get about a month off, and then a month out, we'll advertise for the open trial. Sometimes it can be a complete, hit. It can be a complete hit, and you'll get 100 plus kids. Sometimes you'll just get 20, 30. I like to tell the coaches at our club, if you're going to fill up in your squads beforehand, great. That's fine. Be patient. Always leave a couple spots open because there are a lot of diamonds that get left out. But when we advertise for that open trial, this is what we're specifically looking for, so we don't waste people's time. Because as you know, most clubs trial the same day, same time, and people can't be at two places at once. And then they're forced to choose, should I go here? Should I go there? Is my luck better here or is it better there? And all those things. So we can try and get what we want and make it as fair as possible. It is a lot easier.
And how have you seen, obviously we touched on going from a player to a coach, and then now obviously seeing trials. And how have you seen Australian football and coaching, how it's progressed, and if it has progressed, and how in your eyes from when you were a player compared to what you're like now as a coach, what you're seeing as a coach?
Look, there's pros and cons to what we were doing when we were younger to what there is now. I think now the academies are coming a lot harder and stronger. Kids are opting to go to more academies. So you're dealing with instead of going to academies who are getting the extra work, which is what we want, but sometimes they prioritize the academies, and then it becomes my academy coach said I should be doing this, or my academy coach said I should be doing that. Or, no, I'm prioritizing my academy. So, look, I think the game progressed in certain ways. I think there's a lot more awareness now to management of, the players. But I just think, and I think we can go around in circles with this. Football in Australia, unfortunately, hasn't really progressed. I feel like it's stagnated, and we've kind of been lucky with certain things that we've done with the national setup and everything like that. I just feel like we're coasting through. It's good that the NPL setup's now got 30 games, in a season. That's what we want. We want more games. But the reality is there's too many options, too many distractions, and people can't, focus solely on football. It's still, I think, secondary to everything else. It's not taken as seriously. And that's a disappointing part for people that are keen for it. Sorry, Stephen?
Yeah, no, just tying into progression and that. I just wanted to get your thoughts on yourself. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And as well as the club, Canterbury Bankstown. How do you think you're going to go this season, and what's the goals for the next couple of seasons?
Well, I think in terms of myself, the goal is to be first grade coach, whether it's at our club. I've been there now for a fair few years, and I remember when I first signed on, they said, this is the plan, this is what we want, this is the direction. We want to bring good characters, we want to bring people that are on the same page. And at that point the club had just gotten relegated across youth and seniors, so it was kind of a clean slate and it was a good base. So I think, look, for me, 5 years' time, hopefully I'm in a first grade. I'm now supporting first grade as well. But, hopefully in the dugout for first grade. In terms of the club, we were so close last year. We had such a good year for first grade in the senior setup. We ended up finishing fourth, fifth, for promotion. And we had such a good run of 10 games without losing. And, we got to that point. We got promoted, the year before. And we said, look, let's just have a good year, survive, don't get relegated. And we recruited really well. A lot of players that had to prove points. And they really stepped up, and we got to that window part of the year, the transfer window. And we said, look, where are we at? We're on a hot run now. What are we doing? And, we pushed. But as you know, again, semi-professional, it's not professional. People go on holidays, people prioritize work and things like that. Injuries kick in, squads are thin. And then, we kind of stumbled towards the end. But look, we had a really good run. So hopefully we can, back it up this year. It'll be very tough, especially after losing 8 first-team players. Across other MPL 2-1 clubs. But yeah, look, so far so good. We had a decent preseason. We went down in our first comp game, but positive signs.
And just on that, you mentioned obviously promotion relegation. I think that you mentioned that there was 3 different divisions. How many teams actually go up and go down each year?
So it's a 1.5 system. So first place goes up, last place goes down. Second last and second place play a playoff against each other, a 2-legged playoff, home and away, and it just goes by based on aggregate, not the the old system of the away goals. So it was really exciting to see our comp last year. We watched St George play Mount Druitt, Mount Druitt from MPL 1 and St George in ours, and we saw Mounties play off against Nepean. So it was good. I think it brought back a bit of excitement to the leagues again, because it's something we haven't seen for a long time.
And obviously, you were just touching on there regarding your own progression into potentially hopefully 5 years' time into a first grade position as a first grade coach. I guess this is your opportunity now to obviously get your word out there about your kind of football way you play. Because Ancelotti once said that he doesn't need a CV, he doesn't need a business card. You come and watch his team play, and that's all you need to know about his football, his style of football. If we were to come down and watch an Andrew team play, what will we see, or what would you hope that we would see?
I thought you were just going to say Ancelotti watches the pod.
And he does.
He does.
He does. He told me. He called me up and said, say this with his cigar.
I saw his name in the subscription list.
He wanted to become the coach's son, Ancelotti cigar, but Greg's offer was better.
Oh, look. James, my squad. All right. Well, if I go by game 1, you're seeing an enormous injury list. Close to 9 players on that injury list last weekend. So that was a very exciting way to start the season. But look, I kind of agree with that statement. At the end of the day, you can have a CV, you can have a reputation. I think you need to see what's happening now today, this game. And I do go by you're only as good as your last game as well. I do really emphasize, fast, aggressive teams. I like teams to be creative. I like them to go forward, fast to get back, very hard, not backing out of tackles, winning the aerial duels there. These are the things that I used to pride myself on. I used to play, winning all those 50-50s, going in hard. So when I do see my players back out and, sit off and I suppose lackluster and a little bit slow, that's when I get frustrated. I am a loud person. I was very loud when I used to play. So, I am very hard on my players. So I don't, I expect 150 and nothing less. And, the good thing is the boys are receptive of that. And I've coached a few of them for a fair few years, so they know the standards. So, look, aggressive, fast, balls forward, fast ball movement, not wasting time. We don't need to play 20, 30 passes. Get the ball, get it forward quickly. We lose it, get back as quick as possible. Keep it simple. Don't complicate the game, I believe.
Are we talking to Andrew or Andrew? What's going on here?
Hey, I reckon Angelo fucks around with it a bit too much. We need Fotakopoulos in there at Spurs.
I was gonna ask, maybe bringing it back a little bit more, that maybe if there's any listeners out there that were actually looking to get into coaching, and James, I might get your your opinion on this as well. You've obviously gone through the same thing, just actually starting out as coaching. I just want to know what the process is. Obviously, there's the A license. I don't know the order or anything like that. I haven't looked into it, but I just want to get your point of view and how it started, and what's it actually involved once you go in. James or Andrew, whoever wants to go first.
Well, I suppose for me, I guess mine's obviously not as extensive as Andrew's because he's gone all the way to his A license.
Yeah.
The furthest I wanted to go to was my C license, both youth and senior. But I was very fortunate. I started at Glazel as well, like Andrew did, and I was very fortunate that I got the opportunity to take on a team pretty much straight away. Had my community license wrapped up because you needed that as a minimum to then coach. And I was very fortunate the club then offered to pay for my my seniors at my more advanced levels to coach. I was quite fortunate that they gave me an opportunity to do that. And I got thrown into the deep end straight away rather than going to an assistant coach role or an advisory role, whatever it may be. First, it was not you're being a head coach straight away. See you,
do you later. Do you reckon they regret paying for that?
Let me tell you. Again, I don't want to keep on bringing him up, but I'm going to bring him up again. The bloke we've just sacked. When you've got him me and him on the sidelines, and we go 15 games winning in a row. Not even winning in a row, and we win the under-18s NPL 3 premiership. Listen, they don't regret it one bit. But I think, regarding obviously the levels and the stages and what it actually entails, I mean, Andrew obviously he's gone all the way to his A license. You're probably obviously more inclined to tell us more what it actually involved. If you can obviously start from the community license all the way up to the A license, what are the steps and what does it involve? Because it is a lot of work.
Yeah, look, there is a lot of work and there's a lot of time, and I think you've got to be open to the fact that it's a lot of time, it's a lot of your own money, a lot of your own sacrifice, and if you are, if you have a partner, if you are married, there's extra pressures on the outside, and we're not doing. The reality is we don't do it for the money, as much as we all say, it'd be good to. But you start at UC, get your license. You obviously have to, you do your course. It's now, a couple long weekends. I think 2 or 3 long weekends. You go there, the full days there. Then you have to submit assessments. Live assessment of you running a session, then a video session plus session plans. Then you have to have it for about a year. Then you apply to do your B. Obviously, you've got to pay for that. If you're lucky to get, the club to pay for it, like James and I had that luxury, get that done. And it's the same. The B was a lot more intense. It was 2 weeks intense full time. I remember I had to take time off work, and it was, a 7-day block at Valentine's Park. And then we did a follow-up 6 months later. And it was the same. You do your live assessment, then you have to, do it, other mini assessments, group tasks, session plans, things like that. Attain it for a year, and then for the A license, you actually have to apply for it. They look at where you coach, what your experience is, how long you've had your B for, things like that. And to be honest, I was really lucky to get on my A, last year, because I actually let my B sit for a really long time, and obviously with COVID, and then the wet weather season we had, I didn't get the time to really do my assessment, and then I did, and then I kind of just left it and didn't submit. And then I submitted it, and then I got the B pretty quickly, but then I thought, the A just popped up, and they actually knocked me back. I sent the email. I remember I was at work at a work lunch, and they said, "Oh, sorry, you actually haven't had your B long enough," even though I had done the course 2 years prior. And then, coincidentally, 2 weeks later, I got another email saying, "Oh, you're accepted, and it's, you've got 5 days to pay the $5,000. Otherwise, we'll just pass it on to someone else." They're very quick for their money, that's for sure. And then, the same process. We did, they tried to condense it to make it easier for people with work. So we did 4 long weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Narrabeen. And you do your lives. You see the presenters, you do group tasks. And I have to say the A was quite enjoyable. There was a lot more analytical work, which we don't generally get to see and we don't get to experience as much. So that was exciting. It was good. It was different. Plus the goalkeeping one, I have to say. I never really, thought too much into the goalkeeping one, but it was good. There was some good stuff in there. And it's the same. Then you go into the, if you want to do the pro diploma, obviously you have to attain your A for a few years, apply for the pro. Generally, you've probably got to be in a professional club or, I would say a high level NPL1 club where you are displaying that professional level. And then, I think that's how it goes from there.
Yeah, 'cause I was going to say as well, I mean, 'cause I remember doing the C license, and my opinion was, I mean, they were very fixated on, and this is why I asked the question before about, formations versus players as such, because they were very fixated on having to play a 4-3-3, having to have wide, high, overlapping fullbacks, having to have a 6, 8, and a 10. And it's kind of like, I got the impression it was like, okay, we're trying to mold players now into a certain way that they might not fit that mold. But also, if you want to try, we're trying to encourage players to express themselves and be creative and try and, looks like grow as well. You should also try that with your coaches too.
Yeah.
Allow them to express themselves in different formations and shapes. And I once went to a coaching seminar that Real Madrid actually hosted when they came out here a while ago, and they said that one thing that separates them, thanks to Ancelotti gave me the invite, but one thing that separated them to Barcelona that really stood with me is that they don't teach the kids just one formation. Where Barcelona, they'll go, you're playing a 4-3-3. We're going to have kids that fit into a 6, a specific 8, a specific 10. Where at Real Madrid, they recognise when you get to a senior level, you're playing different formations and shapes and styles depending on getting the result. Obviously, every team has their groundwork which they stick to, but they teach their kids everything, and that's probably why their academy and their youth has produced the most representative or the most professional players out of any other club in the world, because they teach them everything from the ground up, every position, every style, so they're ready for that first grade, step up. I guess I was going to ask. I mean, I do know that you're a Man United supporter in the Premier League. Outside of Man United, because obviously you do keep a keen eye on them, Andrew, are there any teams that you do like? Do you do like watching that you may take inspiration from and get ideas from? That obviously Ange steals ideas from Pep. He says in a few of his interviews. But are there any types of teams that you do like watching that you go, I like what they've done there?
Look, the reality is, I think we all watch a bit of everyone, and everyone takes from everyone. You can't just say football set in one way. But I personally like to watch Brighton. I think they're exciting. They like to get forward. I was actually watching some highlights this afternoon from their game over the week, and I thought, wow, they're attacking in transition, and they've got 4 or 5 players up. How often do you get to see 4 or 5 players aggressively, consistently get forward? It's not often. It's quite hard to sustain, and it's quite hard to teach as well. So I do like to watch Brighton. I think they've got a nice system in place. Obviously, I admire the defensive structure of, Inter in the Italian league. I think the best form of attack is having a very strong defense as well. So I do really enjoy that. They're very compact. Obviously, sometimes it can be a bit slow, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you get it. Sometimes you've got to grind out those results. And, even so, sometimes watching, as boring as they can be, Crystal Palace, I love watching them grind out a result that, squeeze teams and frustrate the better teams. So it's, that's football. That's why we love it, right? Because any given day you're playing a different opposition, different style, you've got to adapt, and, it frustrates me sometimes when people say, well, this is my way. Of course it's your way, but you also need to consider you're playing against 11 other bodies that you can't control. And, it's what you can control. And obviously we do what we can to manage that around us.
Bravo.
It's one of those things where we can find the beauty even in the dog shit. Put it that way. And we only get that on the pod as well. You only get that on the pod. I wanted to touch on your playing career again. Obviously, you played youth, NPL. Do you want to just touch on where you played and what position you played as well?
Well, there's nothing exciting, boys. Just, through the NPL, I played at Dully. I played at Hurstville, played at Stanmore. I even spent a year, which I never, ever thought I would do. It was at Balmain. And to be honest, I think that was the best year of my life there after recovering from the first knee injury. And I remember Dad saying, just go, use it for your rehab. And if it's not good, just walk. And, most of us know Balmain was a team to get hammered, but in the end, we ended up finishing 3rd that year. And, couldn't complain with that. And then, exactly. Well, they're not around anymore. And then finished up at Gladesville. So it was good.
I completely forgot you played for Hurstville as well. You guys had a big squad too. I remember that it was always an aggressive game versus you guys. I always remember that. It was Hurstville, was it Minotaurs?
That's right, Hurstville Minotaurs. Yeah, Herschel
God,
Minotaurs.
so was that Minotaurs, and also is Granville Rage still a team now?
Granville Rage is still around. They're Western Rage. Disappointing because they used to be obviously, in MPL2, quite competitive. Obviously, very different style, the way they play, but to see them fall the way they have is quite disappointing. And, if I'm allowed to say it, the people they've attracted isn't very good. The last couple of times we've played them has been very heated, and
You're
watching
not
them
saying
play.
anything on this podcast, don't worry.
I
As
think
long as Football New South Wales don't come for me, my lawsuit.
it's only going to it's only going to millions of viewers, but don't worry about it.
What's your back?
Yeah, but look,
I
they're
think they're
still
playing
around.
out there, aren't they?
Western Rage now, and a lot of clubs have actually changed their name. Even Stanmore's now Inner West.
Oh yeah.
Parramatta's just Parramatta, Parramatta Melita Eagles, not PCYC anymore. So a lot of names have changed, which is it's interesting. It's good. It's good.
Where do you guys base yourself now?
So the demand is synthetic pitches, and when rego fees are very expensive, and that's probably that's the saddest part about our football is how expensive they are.
Yeah.
The demand is to have synthetic. So Monday nights we're at Rudd Park in Belfield, which is quite central in the inner west. Wednesday nights is at Jensen Park in Regents Park, where we share with Bankstown City, and that's our home ground as well. And then Thursday nights, plus if we want 365 days out of the year, we're at Thorina Park in Villawood. It's a grass pitch, and we've got two main fields and then a whole oval. So that's generally, if we could call our base, but yeah, we've got the access to the 3 fields, which is good.
It's something about the synthetic fields. I think it's one of those things that it's obviously access to not calling off games, but it actually does. It tends to provide like a lot of injuries. Like I can even say physically for myself, that's where I obviously did my ACL. A bunch of things just tend to happen. But do you obviously playing on those probably so often now? Do you work maybe intentionally, maybe a minor part of the football that you teach surrounding the pitches that you're going to be playing on? At all? It's obviously a faster ground.
Well, yeah, it's a lot faster. There's a lot less give. You're turning your mobility is a lot less, I feel. I feel if you're not playing or training on a synthetic, which was our biggest downfall last year, as the TD, I sacrificed my 20s boys and we just trained at Thorina all year on the grass pitch. When we went against other teams, the tempo, sometimes it took us a while to get into games. We'd turn over the ball sometimes quite easily, but it's generally a cleaner game on the ball. It's what you see is what you get. Whereas, as on a grass pitch, bobbles, the slide, all that. We played even Ernie Smith on the weekend, the grass pitch, and very bobbly. And it was probably something that the players weren't as used to because being now so used to the synthetics. But yeah, look, definitely it's one of those things you've got to manage. I think the players, obviously back then when we were younger, we obviously had, our molded studs plus medals and things like that. Players don't have many of those options anymore. There's not many grass fields, and the wet weather we don't really, cop as much. So I feel like they need to do more with the synthetics, maybe spray them a little bit just to kind of open it up for the players. But yeah, they're the things we have to combat, that's for sure.
I always remember on synthetic pitches back in the day when we played, it was like heaven. When we saw like a flat surface, like it was like immaculate. And every time like it was maybe
Hakoa.
Oh, yeah. And was it Henley? Henley,
Sutherland.
they shared with
Yeah,
Cine Uni as well.
Yeah.
Henley Athletic. Yeah.
Even
I
at
remember it was like a
Sutherland as
miracle.
well.
Yeah, they always used to come with like a decent sized grandstand. It always used to be like a decent atmosphere. I remember there was something about those games when we got a synthetic, and now you're probably playing on them every second week.
Oh, it's nature to it. We don't see grass fields anymore.
Yeah.
We don't see any grass fields, and when you do, how well maintained are they? Not really. The councils, unfortunately, aren't as progressive with that, which is disappointing because it's nice to see a good grass field. It makes you value football more, I feel.
Yeah. Something about it.
Absolutely. But now what we wouldn't want to play on a nice grass field. We'd probably just lie down and sleep on it.
Exactly.
Well, and then obviously touching base, obviously Adam said he thinks of synthetic and he thinks of his knee. I'm the same time. I've done my knee on a synthetic, and as you choose it. Has football also grown, surrounding the pitches? So what I mean is obviously we're playing on more synthetic pitches, but are the players doing a lot more prehab, a lot more gym work, or a lot more, dynamic, fitness, or even a lot more rehab to try and combat those potential issues that can come with synthetic pitches?
The reality is probably not, but they should. If you're in an NPL1 and a decent NPL2 setup, you'll have the strength and conditioning guys or girls who set up the program, who do your prehab and your rehab after. If you're just there on your own, running your own show across the board, which most people are, that's the reality. Not really. It's just dependent on what the players do. Do they do the extra work in the gym to strengthen up the legs? Are they doing more core work? It just depends. But I know with us, we're lucky. One of the boys in our team, he's starting to be a physio, so it's really good that he runs our prehab. We're really lucky. But can there be more? Probably 100%, way more.
Yeah, I guess being semi-professional, the coaches and all the staff, you have to rely on all the players to do their own stuff in the meantime, in their spare time, I should say. And 100% agree with you. I reckon more than 50% of the players probably wouldn't even do that. You mentioned about progression in Australian football and New South Wales football. Do we think, this is a question for everyone, do you think the fees for players registration and even obviously all your coaching license, does that play a big part in it? Because I was on Facebook, it was only recently, and I'm pretty sure it must have been an English bloke put on there. It actually mentioned Australian football fees, and they couldn't believe how much it was to send your son or your daughter to go play football. Do we think that's playing a big part in Australian football progression?
Massively. It's just, people are, the reality is, unfortunately, Australia is becoming very expensive and everything else has gone up. And is it really worth paying 3,100, 3,200 for someone to kick a ball around 2-3 times a week at training with someone that's probably not a professional coach or not a decent coach? I don't know. It's one of those things. But those who are committed definitely will pay it, but I don't think they're that happy about it, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I think as well, Australia is becoming, football in Australia is becoming such a rich man's sport. I mean, you think of the best countries in the world. I mean, think of Brazil. I mean, their players are running around the favelas with balls on their feet, trying to escape the gangs, to try and get themselves into a better life through football. And I'm sure there's reasons for it, because look, and in defence of the clubs, the reason for the high registrations, that the clubs don't make a huge amount of money out of them, because there's so many different associations and competitions and areas that got their hands out that are taking a slice of the pie. They've got no choice but to increase the fees, because there's so many different areas that want some money. And again, I'm sure there's reasons for it. I'm sure, whether it's ground maintenance and rent on particular areas and what it may be, but there's got to be a solution for it, because yes, obviously, football in this country is not the most funded sport by any means. Even considering what the Socceroos did, what the Matildas did for this country as well, there needs to be more funding for the sport in this country. It's the most participated sport in the country, and it needs to help out, because I think we're only letting ourselves down in the long run, that we're asking people whose parents potentially cannot afford to send their kids to play NPL because of the high registration fees, but they probably deserve to be there. And I think that's where we're going to be letting ourselves down going forward against those other countries that, probably don't have the same setup regarding their football and their fees, but producing superstars on a regular basis. But yeah, I think that there definitely needs to be something that needs to be done, and we're only holding ourselves back because of that in this country.
Well, especially, I think it's one of those things, the transition. Like a funny story, we were playing at Putney a couple of years ago, and funny, Andrew mentioning that having a physio part of the team. I remember, obviously you were saying before as well, people taking holidays and you get, people don't really turn up to games. So I remember we're playing a game. We barely got, maybe 10 or 9 on the pitch, right? We're playing a man down the whole game. Anyway, we're just that point in the season, everyone's going down with injuries. I kid you not, maybe we ended up with like 7 on the pitch. And the opposition got angry. And I remember he screamed at me and he said, "What are you guys doing? Don't you even have physio?" I said, we can't even fit 11 people on the field. He wants me to bring on a physio. Yeah.
Oh,
I said, are you
God.
kidding me? I said, the whole half we were trying to get the referee to hurry up and finish the game, mate, because we wanted it to be done. And this guy wanted us to bring his physio onto the pitch.
When I was coaching on FFA Cup game, and I can't remember who we ended up beating this team, which they weren't too happy about. But like, I was preparing the team sheet before, and their club manager was like to me, he goes, haven't you got your own manager to fill out team sheets for you and stuff like that? I go, listen, I'm head coach, assistant coach, I'm manager, I'm physio, I'm attacking and defensive set piece coach.
Sometimes the player too.
I'm the fitness coach. I put myself on. But we do it for the love of the game, for the passion, for the love of the game.
It's true.
Absolutely. But I suppose we're gonna have to ask Andrew the ultimate question. We'll finish off with our favourite segment. Andrew, who has been in the Premier League, your coach's son so far?
Coaches.
It's the best, eh? I love it.
It's the best.
Everyone gets nervous when we do it.
Sheffield United.
Oh, give us the whole club, Sheffield.
You can't. The club, the goals
That's
these
fair.
guys are conceding, they're definitely coaches' sons.
That's fair.
Own goals, poor clearances, killing each other. The whole club. Let's just give the coach's son's club.
They definitely need the season to finish really fast, though.
Or a Marcus Rashford, inconsistent, spoiled brat.
Yeah.
Can't put him away.
Yeah.
If he does, it's like,
Fair enough.
look at me. It's disappointing, someone coming from our own club, but he fits the mold, the coach's son.
It is true, though. I mean, he goes out to the nightclubs on a Friday night. He doesn't score for about 20 games. He goes and scores on the weekend, then he runs to the sideline like, it's
Look at me.
Look at me. Yeah, relax. You haven't scored for 20 games. You want to do that? Bravo. Well, Adam, Stephen, do you have any other final questions for Andrew?
I was going to ask, do you have a assistant coach by any chance? Not because I want the job, but I'm just curious if you had an assistant coach.
We've got a team of three of us. The more help, the better. There's a team of three of us. Yeah, it's good. It really helps out.
I was going to ask, have you seen like kicking and screaming? Is that where you send them off to do? Get your juice box, something like that, just on the side of the pitch?
Someone does dribble, someone does velos, dumps the cones, gets the bacon and egg rolls. Absolutely.
Well, bacon and egg, James. You had a couple of those while you were coaching, didn't you, mate?
That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you. Listen, no. You had me and Dinos eating a bacon and egg roll right before the game, while you had the opposition coach setting up and doing the tactics board and this and that. We're too busy eating bacon and egg, and we're going, look at these bloke. They probably look at us going, these guys got no idea how to coach. Yeah, not worried. 15 wins in a row, mate. That's why I haven't gone back into coaching. No one's gonna beat that record.
It's good to see as well. So we all played at a similar level back in our youth days. Could see Andrew going on, making the progression, but it's no coach's son podcast, mate. Sorry about that.
Can't compare boys with 1 million followers and counting.
That's it.
That was skyrocketing after this episode as well.
Absolutely.
Take my cut after this, boys. Just email it to you, James. Wire it through, whatever you need to do.
Wire through to your Swiss bank account.
Love it. Perfect.
Well, hey, Andrew, thank you so much for joining the episode today, our first episode, our first special guest. And you know what? I think we're going to get you back on the pod for maybe some NPL updates throughout the season to see how your team's going as well. If you accept the offer to come back on.
100%.
Whoever's listening, whoever's listening as well, under 20s, Canterbury Bankstown FC. Also keep an eye out. If you see Andrew, come and say hello.
we might even get down to do a live episode.
Oh, live episode.
We'll get like in our room. We'll get the halftime interview. We'll get the camera. We get the camera in Andrew's face at halftime. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, tell us a piss off,
Live thoughts throughout the game.
That would actually be phenomenal. I'd love to make it a bit more realistic.
Absolutely.
That's it.
We're going to get a new sponsor on their jerseys as well.
Ooh,
Coach's son sponsor. Is that what you're saying for next year? The berries?
Yes.
Something we can organise, huh?
See how we go.
Bravo. Well, to all our listeners, thank you very much for tuning in again. We'll be back next week for another 2 episodes. Keep on following the coach's son. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank
Stay
you, mate.
well.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take it easy.
This was not meant to happen.